So that movement, we have this, okay, take a pause, look what we have. This is amazing, right? How do we transition from here to something that doesn't look like this? What does that mean? Good. Scary. Are my kids gonna be okay when I get there, right? Can they graduate college, right? Can they get to high school? Can they get the course credits they need? My oldest is a freshman. I'm experiencing that right now with him. He's getting that experience that he needs at his high school. So, and we have an even more dynamic opportunity. Other fears?
Hard work and time management and discipline.
So we have a couple of themes there. That expectation we have for kids, that hard work. Do we have a bar here for our kids, or is it up here? Because they'll cheat it. We don't want to make it where it's easier for them to walk under the bar, right? We want to make it so they can excel over it. And then I heard discipline. I want to be really specific on what I mean when I say discipline. Discipline is of self. Right? That discipline we have to do the right thing. Yes, I can come with a big stick. That's not my management style. It's discipline of self.
Able to cover the curriculum in that particular area?
Yeah, we have expectations from the state, right? The state standards. Is there enough time? How do we do that when we have these deep dives with kids? And what does that mean? Are we getting to all patients?
Adapting to more autonomy.
Explain more. He's talking about autonomy, but I want you to tell me.
Like less structure, more freedom, and finding their way to be able to pay attention, participate.
You like one of my slides. Freedom, autonomy.
Staff changes and that.
The overall just structural things, what happens when change comes. That change management, how do we work through that? It's going to be very important. And everybody understands, we talk a lot. I want to tell you, I have a person that's kind of being my coach. He's the chief provocateur. I don't know if you know Grant Licken. Grant Licken can play it. He has a great mind that helps bounce ideas off of me. And he's not sitting in the trenches. He's someone that can really help me think differently about that. Yeah.
Are we experimenting on the kids?
I'm sorry.
Are we experimenting on the kids?
Oh, yeah. Hey, sorry, guys. We'll get it right next year. Right? They're the guinea pig. Right? Experimentation. And what does that mean? That's important here. We have to uncover that. Transition to traditional learning. I have a very traditional middle school right next to me. It's called Twin Peaks. They come up and tour, Dear Benita, and this is what the teacher said. You ruined school for us. That's what they said. You ruined school for us. We need to think differently now, too. So our change promotes change. Okay, we're going to take two more. Is that okay? Oh, three. I promise. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1.
Security.
The campus security, right? Dear Benita was built in 1975 as a park, basically, right? And it's this ideal that we're safe in it. Safety happens in a lot of different ways, so yeah, I think it's super important. How do we make sure our campus is safe? You receive the news every day. Right? What are our procedures and practices to ensure that safety? How do we do it in a timely manner? Safety.
My fear is that parents that are uncomfortable with any ways of doing things is drive you guys away from that and back towards tradition.
Yeah, you'll see another slide. I'm going to speak to that. I call it gravity. Okay. Yeah. Allowing all passions to be present. How do you do that? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Can you program relationships? Right.
I think one other one is probably Sony's departure.
I'm sorry.
Sony's departure, how that.
Can I tell you this part? I don't know if you know this. In 1975, I Like hip stick book. I was 5 years old. 1997, I was a little older, didn't look much older. But I was went into this giant room, it was called Canyon View, and there was the craziest interview I've ever experienced. It was literally a room this big with every single staff member in that room when I walked in. And who's the principal? And she hired me as my first experience. So, yes, I connected with her for many, many years. And what she has brought in the passion of all that, validating that. Chris Karen, she calls me up and says, are you okay that she's still kind of involved? I don't think about that one. She said, I wanted to be at promotion at 8th grade. She needs to be the keynote speaker. Period. Yeah. Yes. All right. So, how do I put myself into one word? Connectedness, those relationships, right? Between students, between staff members, between the principal, between the parents, and how we all organize to get connected. The principal would do crazy things. They dress me up in a dress. I'm still recovering. And throw slime on me and be okay with it. But we have dads who get involved who want to be on campus. We had our moms who are really proud of that. How do we get our dads involved? And where there's a group of them that will unite. When the dad said something interesting. He said, I got involved really just to let my kid know that I was on campus. He said, I actually evolved from that. It has become my experience with my child on campus. I am gaining from this experience by participating. Where you have these fun traditions, right, that you still do. Tradition is not bad. How you do it traditionally. I call it shift tradition. What does that actually look like, right? We start to shift those traditions. But you have certain things that you get excited about. This is last day of school. We call it high five with fifth graders, right? This is what they ended there. So they have this tradition. It's probably one of the favorite things, and they go around the loop, and there's like every single person that ever was on Erpelding came on campus. And high fives the kids as they move forward. Where you have a dynamic way to connect people from all cultures and experiences. We come from diverse backgrounds. That's what makes this place great. We choose this place. Where folks come and visit. Think about it. This is an internationally recognized school, not just locally. People come from all over the place like they did at Erpelding. And what makes that happen is you have connected staff members who come from other places and who want to do something great. These are teachers from all over the place. And that inspires change. And something happens. You get recognized for your efforts. Like we heard earlier, one of 200 in the nation. Right? It's pretty cool. And then got recycled to that for another 2 years and getting invited, one of 12 in the nation, to go be part of this research project with Apple. That's where I was the last 3 days. Yep. Yeah, it's recognized for 5 best practices: visionary leadership, innovative teaching and learning, around those things. Apple comes in, tours the school, looks at that, looks at your application, and then from there you start looking at how are you being innovative. So around teaching and learning. So right now we're asking an action research project. I think that's something we need to do too. What's the difference the difference is making? Right? And you have a goal, right? To improve the goal. So we need to develop what is that goal we want to hit. And it's not these guys. Right? They call it the chair, right? We call it the chair, B39. So I want to talk about that experience a little bit. Because this is what gets in. It makes me cry a little bit. I've been crying a lot. I'm warning. I'm leaving to everything. I love that place. You need to know that. And I will love this place as much as more. Right? We're debriefing with the kids who brought them all in. And we're talking with parents and parent groups, and I asked, who's here for me? Kids, of course. First one's the answer. Do you ever need it as family? That was their response. Okay. So I have Deborah's going to come up for 60 seconds. She's going to talk about her experience with her kid. So, but before she does that, I asked her, who's the collaborative? She said, it's a PTO. I said, wait a minute.
Bad answer.
Let's try that again.
It's a bad answer.
It was not a bad answer. It was your first answer. I want your first answer to be a different answer. And what did you say?
How did I say it at the time? We're unified. We're unified. We're here to be a voice of one. Yes. So Joe asked me in 60 seconds to talk about a personal experience about what drives our family to support D39 and why we're here and what gets us excited to meet the 4-mile trek, which is it is for us every day to come over here. For those of you who don't know, I have 2 kids. One is a sophomore at Del Norte. One is a 7th grader here. They're both boys. And literally the conversation around the dinner table one night was, Chase, why don't you tell everybody about what you're doing in magic and electrons? And he said, what? Because it's all normal to him. And I said, remember you guys are making, he said, yeah, we're making a nightlight. And my husband and older son looked at him and said, making a nightlight like that really plugs in and works? He said, yeah. And they said, well, what did that entail? And he said, well, first we were soldering the frame. And my older son looked at him and said, you were soldering at school? I kid you not. Like, I had to get Papa, his grandfather, to show me how to do one night when we were over there. Well, yeah. The best part of that is that every single 7th grader this year is going to have some type of experience along that line because of the out-of-the-box thinking. Bonnie Gonzalez, who is running Project Lead the Way for 7th grade this year, said the great thing is that I don't have to ask permission to do these super hands-on things. The hard thing is I don't have to ask permission because I have to follow through. But that is one of the things I think makes D39 great, and that's what drives our family's experience.
Was it 60 seconds?
Yeah, better. It was everything you need to do.
Sorry, I was going over to this quote because it goes to the next slide. But first of all, give a thank you to Deborah. We have to be able to tell our story, so I have this next image here. And I was at the Apple headquarters this week, and this is a quote that was on the wall inside. It said, if you do something and it turns out pretty good, then you should go do something else wonderful. Not dwell on it for too long, just figure out what's next. That was Steve Jobs. So that's me. Go figure out what's next, make it wonderful, right? And this is a pretty wonderful place. If you think about it, they're trying all these other ways that we can do school, and then D39C is looking at it, how can we do it differently? That's pretty awesome. And have these guiding principles. Who knows what they are? Good. Better. Right? And then best. That's where we're going. Good and best. Okay. So we're going to understand that. What's that Grant and I and the teachers and staff members talk about that North Star that keeps us charging why we're doing what we're doing. It's really important to understand that because this is what happens. This school is beautiful. Look at everything. It's like a baby. We love our baby. Don't mess with our baby. Right? Because our baby is super important and parenting the baby is important. If you look around this place like Disneyland, to me it's like a sandbox. Right? That we're going to have this amazing experience like this. But it's really hard. Because things can go wrong when you're raising kids. Right? And you're really careful on who you give your kids to. Right? You vet them out. Make sure it's right. That's what we need to do. We got to make sure that this thing we call D39 is really shepherded the right way. Because it's like this. This is where we are right now. Have a good day. Anyways, the imagery in there was that they're inside the cockpit. And inside that cockpit, when they're launching, it's just this gravity, right? And they're trying to get out this thing, gravity, the gravity of this traditional educational system that keeps pulling us back. And you're wondering, you're sitting inside this, you all chose to be in here, and you go, I hope it doesn't blow up. Right? I hope you'll be okay. And it is. It's going to be okay. This is what happens with the slide for us. always adapt, right? Okay. So, what does that say to you? What? Right? Well, where's D39 going and where's everybody else trying to go? And how hard is that for our staff to do that? Right, we're trying to go this direction and the flow is going the totally opposite direction of what we're trying to do and achieve. But this is what wins the day. Where's our staff members in there? All staff? Yeah. Give them a big round of applause. All staff. That's what wins the day. Yes, we're important. Yes, this guy up here is pretty important. Leadership matters, and we're figuring out what that leadership structure looks like. This is what matters every day with your kids. Plan, design, right? And it is so challenging. But when they're united, amazing things happen. And that's why my very first slide, relationships, is the one that connects us together. I call that the plus one. Right? We have those vision things that we want to do, but it's a plus one. Because who's at the center? Students. So I will ask you the same thing I ask the teachers and staff members, these learning experience designers. Why D39C? Right? Why D39C? We saw early on we have these guiding principles, right? That help unite us, but why D39C? And I have this image. And the message here, it's personal. It's personal. It's personal how we interact. It's personal the educational experience I get. It's personal the way we connect. It's personal to me, to my child, to what I need. And that takes a lot of effort to personalize education. It's so unique, it's so different. It's personal. And when we do that, we talked about some of our fears. We want them at the end of the day to be able to unlock any door we want. To have that sense of value of who I am, that I can change the world. We say a lot of times, jobs of tomorrow aren't invented. That's because they're going to invent it. They're going to create those jobs. You don't have to wait to decide what they're going to be if it's an engineering or math or science. It's because they have that skill set, that mindset to unlock any door that you can go to. They have a choice. That's what we're going to provide, a choice. So they have this dynamic sense of who they are. And we've provided that through all of us working together, personalizing that experience. That's the North Star to me when I think about it. It's all those 8 guiding principles is to do what? Make it personal. At Germany, they said it's family. To me, when I think, I haven't vetted this out, but when I look and investigate around what I see and what I'm reading and what I'm talking, stop. Think personal. Everybody's story is important, and how do you value that? So, this is the one sentence I came up with. I don't know if it works, but it's a starting point of what I'm thinking. Deeply enriching the lives of our students. That's why, to me. So they have this rich experience to go unlock any door. So I asked the teachers to send me a photo, the LEDs, to send me a photo of what makes D39C insanely great. What makes D39 insanely great? Not just okay, but insanely great. Why do we come here? What's the why to that in the photo? So I have a little video, of course. Open a chair. Steve. Unity. I'll go. That's T39. Let's hear it for T39. I think that's really important. That's all I want to be back in. No, I'm kidding. All right, this is a chance now just to have what you saw, what you didn't see, what you need to know more about. Be brave. I promise I won't come and get your kid and say, why did you say that? Yes. So how do we improve? Or we
Based on what you want.
Yeah. So the question was, make sure I got this correct. So based off the experience that I've seen in the short few weeks, 2 weeks that I've been investigating this, where do we want to go from here? Is that kind of the question?
Based on where you go from here, and in your opinion, what's the best part and what?
So first thing that just, I'm gonna be very honest, and so that's what you're gonna know about Joe. The kids do call me Mr. E, but whatever. I told a parent that they call me other things behind the scenes, but yeah, that's my wife. I don't know. What came to mind to me was that what you said, what do I want? To me, it's what we want. Honestly, we're gonna shepherd this thing to what we want, and that means collectively, all of us working together. Continually shaping our conversations through what's your description of your student's experience? Is that in alignment with what we're saying we're doing? Right? That North Star, because when I asked you who's T39, right? We all might have a different impression of what that is. If we're continually aligned on that work, and we have it in all of our conversations, the voice of one, all those things start to align us. What I know is that we can be something we never thought we could be. In a sense, we distort reality. Right? We have a new image of what we couldn't be before because we didn't know. And it's because all of us are working together to create that new opportunity. Now, I think there's some certain things like safety, right? The reality of going to a high school, right? The reality, so we need to uncover what all those realities are that we have to get better at. Right? The reality of this is a brand new school, and it's only going to be brand new one time. To be honest, when I walk through the campus and I see pieces of trash on the ground, it irritates me. It does. When I see bird poop on the railing, that irritates me. We communicate through everything we do, how we look, what we say, right? So I want bird poop on the railing. Do you? No. I want trash on the ground. Discipline of who we are, discipline of self. I heard, well, we do the pledge every morning. No, that has its own level of energy around it. In a way that when I go to the stadium, everybody stands. When I go to a park, people stand. I heard when I just walked in today, people don't stand when we do the pledge. There's not that level of discipline. That's interesting to me. I want to understand more about that. So those are things that the little pieces that just define who we are in the big piece about personalization. Because all right.
Just one thing that I would like to see from the school would be, I don't know if this is being done, but like, I think we all come from like an elementary or a middle school where the principal kind of gets all the kids together in the morning, and then that camaraderie or kind of bringing all the kids together at once in the morning, and just having, even just one, we're very,
Can we capture this? Like,
like, we need to feel it,
Can you capture this? Those are important things. Maybe on that one. Just as we're talking, so the first. Yeah. So the first point was around just kind of where we're going. And I apologize, your name again? Yes, I'm sorry, your name again? Yeah. Huh? Okay, Nan was saying how is that, where we're going next. And then this idea around.
Yeah, like getting things.
Community.
And then bringing things, priority education. So if you want to be different, then like the program, soldering,
Yeah.
carpentry, we got those things, but more of it. If you want to be different, that
Let's go for it, all of it.
outlines being different, right? more field trips, because we're different.
The whole idea of being different feels comfortable. Yeah, and do it with greatness. Yeah. I saw some just in the community. I really appreciated Amy. Where's Amy? Was she here? Okay. Amy was out front, Mrs. Richardson, and just welcoming the cars in. You know, I was at the headquarters at Apple, and they asked you to describe who you are. I told them I was a CDO. Pretty important. You guys know what CDO is? Car door opener. That's my most important job. Nice community, and a car door opener. How many problems you solve just right there, just being available, right? So, thumbs up to Amy. Give her a round of applause. Start with all our unified around that message and what we're doing, and what we say and what we do today in action. As viewed through the eyes of our customer, our users, our students.
I think just to balance your point, Amy, is that just to make sure we don't throw out the traditional things that do work, like they're new, we're different, but then there are also, well, the CDO, that was what worked at the old elementary school that I went to. That we don't throw out the traditional things just because they're traditional. It might be okay to tell you.
Does tradition mean bad?
No, yeah, just I think sometimes I feel like I hear, oh, we did that at the old school, therefore we won't do it. But maybe we won't, but maybe we will. Just give it
Be thoughtful about it. Yeah. And communicate out the direction we're moving. Right? I think this is a great reflection I had from our conversations. One sticky note is not going to change what we do. A theme will start to really move that discussion. Does that make sense? Like, if you really want a CEO, but nobody else really does, is that really the value of what we want to add for our kids? But if it becomes something that really is going to add value, it's going to change the way we do school, yes. I would hope, right? Yeah, she's fine. All right.
I missed what he said, so I hope I agreed something good.
If you ever ask a question, better listen. Turn to your partner, tell them what Ms. Reed just said.
The talks that I've been to here, everything addresses the education piece, the learning, the math, the science, and the differently here. But for me and a lot of people I talked to, the hardest part of school was the social piece. And I've never heard any discussions about new ways to try to alleviate that burden. And as a new parent and kids in school, I have 2 6-year-olds who've never done the school thing before. So it happened a lot quicker than I expected. I've never heard anybody talk about it from a new way of handling school perspective.
Great. That's really good. Two sides, I guess, of our brain. We have the social emotional side and the academic side, and how do they link together? I think they do. Right? So how are we addressing the social emotional needs of our students? They're coming in very unique. We come here, you are all very unique. You're choosing something that's totally hasn't been developed yet. Like when my son went to his brand new school, there was no school. We invented it. And that's very scary, and we have to talk about those fears. And we don't have it all figured out yet. And that leads to the point, I don't want my kids to be guinea pig, so we gotta get it figured out. Right? And unify around that, because here's the reality at Sierra Bonita. It takes about 2 months to have something happen. From the point of when we decide this is the idea we want, to communicating it out, to getting the funding, to have the teachers make it work. So that's where we need to get, where it's not just on pause.
Can I change the subject a little?
Yeah.
I want to know, were you interested in design-based learning
Great.
before you heard about this job?
It's a funny thing. Sierra Bonita and every school in the district was given a challenge. And the challenge was change the way we do school to have basically a personalized learning experience for every child. We didn't say go create Connect39 everywhere. We said that and gave that mission to every school to have a value-added impression of what we're going to do. Right? So our mission here is very unique, and that's what we need to keep building on. So at that same time, our teachers went through, I went and actually Googled, designing something new. Guess what came up? Design thinking, and what do? We started stigmatizing everything and stickies everywhere and started designing who we were. Because we had to figure out the why we are who we are. And not just say, oh, we want to get some Apple products. That's not what we did. We designed the why around where we're going. And so yes, that design thing was really important to me. The superintendent asked me 3 years ago, he said, why did you not apply to Connect39? Do you guys want to know? I didn't know that. Why I didn't know that. But I did, after I vetted out why I didn't apply, it's because Sierra Bonita like most traditional schools, seasoned staff. And at that point in time, we were trying to do something very different than what was the expectation of really trying to personalize learning and struggle through that. Having ACLU, you're having parents buy devices to bring them in, all those struggles. And so we wanted to be something that no other traditional school was really able to do, right? And to do something different. And so my commitment was back to the staff that I'm not leaving until we get this figured out. That was it. During that time, though, I would come over and Megan and team members, they would be at Del Norte, and I'd come in, don't tell them this, and I would steal everything.
He said take.
Oh,
Please,
take.
We want to change. We want to help.
That's right, I did. Megan would walk me because they were kind enough to walk her and tour and kind of see our progress. But no, it was amazing because every time they would reiterate on the walls all the different facets of how they were making this learning experience. And so I was kind of along that process just to kind of see what they were working on. That's where I got to hear and listen to a Grant. I didn't know who he was really until then, but just to hear that big thinking was really important. So hope that helps. And I want to be here. Very really, because I had to vet through. I wasn't ready to make a change in a year. I was like freaking out. I sent a message to Tracy Hogarth, who is the director of superintendent personnel, a year ago and said, if D39 opens up, I'm interested. Fast forward up to an email comes up. Let us know if you're interested. Not yet. Oh, wait a minute. I freaked out. And then I had to understand why I was freaking out, what my insecurities were, what was I worried about leaving my school. So I really had to understand it, and I was a little bit mad. The district didn't ask me. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't ask me? They're doing a lot of good work around here. And I guess my own ego. I didn't understand how I went through the whole cycle, that they didn't ask me because they wanted to be mine, my decision, my understanding of why I'm coming here, and being really with 100% passion to make it great. What that was.
First of all, welcome to Design 39.
Hey, all right.
Absolutely, we are thrilled to have you here. Having said that, do you have a dream or a vision for the school over and beyond? I know you understand the principles, and you will take us there, but I want to know how, and how can we help?
Yeah, this is important. And it's really helped me to kind of understand and through my recent experience up in Apple, what's the purpose of this whole thing. What defines a school a lot right now is what's in the newspaper, right? They come in and they say, look what they're doing. We have to tell a much richer story about who we are and why this difference is making a difference. And that comes through action research. So we have to have some pretty well-defined goals in terms of what we're going to target and measure, and then report out how that progress is being made from the learning experience designer's perspective, from the parent's perspective, and most importantly, from the student's perspective. What is that goal we're trying to achieve, and how are we going to measure it? These 21st century skill sets are really soft in terms of how do you target and codify that in terms of data, but there's some really interesting ways you can start to do that I've been learning about. So action research is a difference making a difference, because at the end of the day, what you measure, you will improve.
I have a son of here, and she constantly gives me feedback that she doesn't feel like she's in middle school. What are your thoughts about, some of the after-school sport activities and programs that or other players that you're thinking about?
To be honest, I have not thought about it until right now. So the idea was around enrichment, after-school programs, physical activity, and I really understand. Okay. So there's some other good. I love it because she is really the boss. She unifies around. She has a perspective, as you know, with Sonia back to Oak Valley, Karen does, and she brings that to us and the richness and the conversation and the person that really is connected, right, to a lot of different fields. So we'll discover it more. How do we bring that on, and how long is it going to take? How do we know it's working, and what are we going to do about it if it's not? Trying to simplify it to the most simplest form. I always say if a kindergartner can tell you what you need to be doing, then we're probably going to understand it. So, with that being said, I don't know, honestly. If you look at all these fields of experience and expertise that you guys all bring to us, my hope is that you want to engage in that work. We have a collaborative for a reason, so that we can have this feedback back and forth. One of the favorite things I saw when I toured D39 a year ago, I spent about 3 hours just with a variety of different principals. And I walked through, and it wasn't a classroom setting necessarily. They were off into this back room, with not a bigger classroom. And inside there were students that were presenting their proposal. And watching them were some professionals in the field giving them feedback like they would in their own group setting back at work 10 minutes later. So that real just kind of give and take and energizing around who we are and where we're going and what your skill set you're going to need, that was real exciting to me. So we need to start to define our successes, and then those measurement pieces will be important.
So consistent with that line of thinking, a large part of the emphasis is collaboration and building society learning. So is there a way or a thought to organize that collaboration from a parent perspective? Whether it's committees or that sort of thing, sort of organized collaboration, where there's shared input.
Okay. I can tell you one of my philosophies that I don't like around committees is that I don't like committees that commit on nothing. It's just talk. We get this importance to that, and I kind of get some feedback on everybody wants to be engaged at that level. And we have a structure so when people want to be involved, we can make that happen. And I think that's here is about committees and structures to get feedback and action and movement, because we can't do it alone, and I think that would be the expectation. So how do we engage our parents? One of the first alignments we had to do at tier meeting. Foundation didn't talk to the PTA, and the PTA didn't talk to the school site council, and the school site council didn't talk to the principal, and we had no idea what the mission was. So what's our goal? How do we unify those budgets and those resources, and how do we do some small group work to get the job done? So if that hasn't been happening, then we probably need to get some feedback on what we need to do to make that work. Yeah.
That was actually going to be one of my comments. That something I've always loved about the school from when it was just in the classroom at Del Norte is they were so open to having it would be a focused topic, and doing the design process with parents, with students to flesh out the ideas. And it was more a comment that it has been so nice to feel part of the growth of the school, and that our opinions are valued. And I can just say from watching the collaborative and then watching the LEDs that all of those surveys and the different groups really have resulted in change. And I'm just hoping that continues. And it's just been really amazing.
I hope this has started that evidence. What are we looking for in a principal? What are those fears? Where do we want to go? All this feedback becomes those things that bring back to the folks that really are on the ground floor making it happen. And that's the LEDs, right? So when I look back in time, that was something that really energized me as well. When I go on the website and say there's a tab that says feedback, and you see the course of time, all the feedback and what parents were thinking and their hopes and dreams and what does good learning look like, what does good teaching look like, and we start to discover it together. Yeah. So I really want to see that happen. This is that forum. Every time we're going to do this, we're going to have some type of question. Discovery through questioning.
Will your kids be coming here too?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I have 2 kids, so just in this era of transparency, I moved into Forest Ranch when it was just merged. There was no other homes here. We drive in, and literally we're the first ones to get keys at Forest Ranch. I don't know if you know that. You go back and look at the papers. It's like playing the film. That's about it. And so Forest Ranch is deep in my roots. I actually saw a map at the district office years ago, and I said, there's this Forest Ranch, and I thought it was Forest, F-O-R-E-S-T. And I want to go Forest Ranch. And so we lived in Penasquitos, and we drove over here, and it's like, wow, So you're probably getting this thing. Joe sends his kids to a school that hasn't been invented yet. He goes to a community that hasn't been developed yet. He goes to a place that, right? You can kind of hear these things about who Joe is. And I said, I want to be part of that new thing. And so what did I do? I went to the first meeting of the HOA, and there was this many people there. And they said, you need to go get some votes. So I went to my house. And I got my wife, and she signed me up for the HOA. So I was on the HOA for 12 years in Forest Ranch. So if I made you mad, it was the other guy. And so our roots are deep that way in terms of the community. Now in terms of education, I am a public Catholic school. I'm one of 10 kids. So that's a tip. I'm the middle child. There's 5 boys, 5 girls, all by the same mom. She's amazing. I'll bring her here one day. You're like, oh, I get it. It's around LOVE. That's what she's about. And so we grew up in the Catholic school system. My wife as well. She went to Our Lady of Grace. I went to St. Columba, which is over there by the time Jack Murphy Stadium, Qualcomm. And then I went to St. Augustine High School, all boys school. Right? That is an interesting perspective. Are there differences in the way we teach with gender? That's something interesting to me. Something I would like to investigate. Do students learn differently? I say yes, you guys all have husbands, right? They're all wacky. So we came here, we moved to Poway, we moved in, our intent was to go to the public schools, and my wife's the boss. So she wanted a community that kind of had that emphasis around what we're trying to build here, right? And what we have here. And 3 years ago when the school opened up, we really invested is my youngest one going to come to the school? And they're K-8 as well. And so pulling his roots out has been a part of that discussion. We opened the discussion again about having him come. And that's planting the seed for my wife. She doesn't like change, it takes about a year. So we're going to look at it again. I would really love him to be here, honestly. I want to be able to invest in this school with it. When I went to Erpelding, I would have sent him there 8 years ago. We had 3 principals running my well. I was the 4th one in 2 years. It was hurting. And I said, I am not bringing my kid here. 4 years later, I asked him, he was going into his 3rd grade year, well, do you want to come? He said, no, I'm still like my school dad. Right? So that's kind of being transparent with you. That's the process. We're interested in having him come here. I do like the experience my kids getting. Christopher, the older, he's a freshman at Saints, and he is, not a thing, he is the ASB freshman class president. And he has a great experience, so that's what we want for our kids. What I'm worried about mostly, my fear, is I gotta go meet the kids and they're gonna ask me the toughest questions. So they have under Megan's, so let's give a big thanks to Megan. She shouted out to everybody out there in the world. So they have a fabulous team that helps connect people who can't be here. You'll see a feedback where the parent said, Joe, I can't come in the morning, I work. So let's have a night meeting. So that's why we have Monday. That's why Monday came on the books, and Marisol's going to help us with that one. So to our collaborative team for putting this together today. So let's hear for them.
The only thing that I always think about is, I know it's a different way of doing things in the past, but by the end of the year, are they really going to be able to complete all the syllabus that's the core curriculum that wants us? Because per se, this is like a no homework school. So is it something that parents, after the kids come back home, do we have to work with them? What's going to be covered in the school by the end of the year? Is the whole curriculum necessary to be completed, or it's just going to keep continuing? Because my kids are right now in 1st grade, so I'm not really worried, but as they go to the higher grades, I'm kind of wanting to know if the curriculum would be completed. That's kind of my priority. So
are they going to complete the curriculum? And so you need to hear some of my philosophies around that. And I usually tell things through stories. And so the story around this one is around the experience I had with our kids, because I've been there 8 years, and how they matriculate over to the traditional middle school. Right, so I'll tell that story quickly. We already heard that the teacher said we're ruining school for them. Now our kids are in that system that's very traditional, right? And we have a different way at Cherry that we have done things. We don't really do a lot of the homework, right? We actually turn off the digital device a little bit at the end because we want kids to go out and play. And so we're worried a little bit. Are they going to be okay when we move over there? Because it's very different. What happens is the teachers come back and they say, if we want to do a collaborative project that is really deep and rich learning, we put a tier of a student in each one of those groups. Okay? And that's life right there. Can they solve problems? Can they make connections? Can they be sophisticated? Can they read? That's important, right? Will they have this sophisticated mathematical knowledge and the algorithms around that? You better believe it. It's not either or. It's and. They have that foundational skill and we apply it in a very dynamic, new, and different way because that's what wins the day in the future. So, are we uncovering every single detail of the curriculum? It's impossible. If you look at the standards, it's impossible. If you just look at the new generation science standards, you can teach science every single day, all day long, and still not cover it all. So the truth is, no. What are the key leverage points that we better get right? That's more important to me. Okay. So, it's not like Elvis, I don't leave the building, so I will still be here and I'm committed, so I'll be afterwards. I think we need a way to capture things, so if you have other ideas, you can write them up on the board, and then we can digest that later on. But most importantly, thanks for investing in this school. You don't wake up every morning and say, I hope my kid has an okay experience. You want to wake up and say every day with passion and conviction, this is the most exciting opportunity my kid could ever have. That's what I want you to wake up saying. And that's what I wake up hearing you guys saying. I heard a parent the other day say, my wife teaches at Turtleback. They're having a little celebration at our house with some kids. And her reflection back, one of them comes here. My kid has confidence he's never had before. That's powerful. And that's happening right here, right now. We're not talking about a 2.0. We're going to rechange all the things they're doing. No way. This is like a 1.02, like a little software that you do on your phone, right? Nothing really changes. Just makes things better, right? And more sophisticated. So I'm excited to work with you. I have a fantastic team that I'm learning more about, and I got the done. For this conversation. All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks,